Good afternoon. Two hands today. Hand number one is pocket sevens. So, villain one limps. He is probably limping with a weak range. We're looking small to mid pocket pairs, maybe ace jack, king jack, king queen, queen jack, maybe queen 10. Those types of hands. Nothing, I think if it just gets to me, I would definitely raise him, but it doesn't. Villain 14 raises to 4.5. I'm going to say that's probably a standard raise for him, especially with one limper. He's playing 72-11. Definitely not overly aggressive. He's more limping to begin with, so question is, what's he going to raise with? Well, I kind of set up this range here, but I'm kind of thinking that based on that big gap, I kind of think he would have limped with more of these speculative hands instead of raising. So I kind of think his raising range is going to be something like this. It's going to represent strength, and I'm going to have his pocket pairs go all the way to pocket fives. I think if his pre-flop raising range was, let's say, 7 or 8%, I would take these out, but since it's up to 11%, we'll go with that. Sevens, I think it's definitely a call. I will note that I only have 42.4 big blinds, and that kind of affects how we can play these hands. The ability to call here to set mine really isn't there because my implied odds, or you can say that the implied odds, the money left behind to win really isn't great enough to offset the times that we're just going to completely miss. And that's why I said it. I think if it was one player, I could raise and probably take down the pot, or if he gets called, I could probably take it down on the flop. But against a player like this, if I raise, he's probably going to call because he has a strong range to begin with. So I think our decision is either just to call or fold. I chose to call here because when you look at the players behind me, it looks like this player is the most likely to call. And in order to get him to call, I think I only need one more player behind. And then he'll be calling with his weak range. So I called, and I got the small blind to call. He's probably playing a speculative hand as well, so probably pocket pairs maybe. And of course, villain 11 calls. Flop comes. That's a great flop for us. We hit trips, and these two check. No big surprise. Check to the pre-flop raiser, and now this player bets. His c-bet that I have, I only have him c-betting in position 1 out of 3 times. This is his first time c-betting out of position. So, based on that, I'm going to guess that he is probably only going to be betting hit pairs. And probably not all pairs. I mean, when you look at the size of bet, I would kind of think a set's going to be betting less to try to encourage callers. And I do think maybe you have pocket pair less than top pair, but I'm kind of thinking over pair, and I think that is, I think, what we go with. It's, he had a strong range to begin with. Do I think he's going to be able to bet ace king, ace queen? Maybe. If we do, we're looking at huge range. And it's possible, but it's not going to change the equities much. So I do think probably the overpair. Now the question is, should we raise or should we call? I think the overpairs are our targets. So if I call, just call, and let's say the turn is a 6 or an 8 or a 10, I don't think we're going to be able to get the rest of his money. I think we give him a chance to fold because it's too likely that we might have two pair and beat him. But if we raise here, it kind of sets up possibility that maybe we had an open-ended straight draw, and now overpair is going to call. Do we care so much about these players? Not really. I think if we raise here, we could be getting called by 9-8, by 10-9, in one more spot along with the overpair. So I think I preferred the raise here instead of the call. Then the ace of clubs comes out, and I think that could freeze the action, because if he had kings, queens, or jacks, or tens, he's going to be afraid that the ace, perhaps the ace now beats him, which, I mean, kind of looks like it is. So my standard play when pre-flop raiser c-bet and then checks is just to go ahead and bet fairly large, 2/3 of the pot size bet. He calls. I still think when we go back, I'm giving him credit for the overpair. I'm going to say he doesn't believe that I actually have that I have the flush. Now, there is a chance that he has a set. So, when we factor that in, I'm 85%. But I don't think that it's something we should be scared of. Jack of clubs comes. I shouldn't be worried. We're all in. And he shows ace 9. So that's kind of interesting because I had ace 10. I didn't have ace 9 here. So if he had ace 9 offsuit, then I'm going to guess he also has ace 9 suited, which means that when we go back to his flop bet, we can probably add top pair in it as well. So top pair. And I wonder then if pocket pair less than top pair would also make that play. And then with the ace of clubs, he can freeze. Same thing. He may have a set. He may have two pair. I think all of those hands are going to be checking there, either to be tricky or because they're scared. I've got 86%. I do bet. I should bet. And I get the call. So didn't quite get the hand. Didn't have ace 9 off. I was one card off. But we make a note of this player and move on to the next hand. All right, next hand is 7-9 of clubs. We have min raise from under the gun. We are this is a 4NL game, so we're currently 7-handed. What's his range? He's playing 28-19 over 80 hands. His raise first in from early positions 27%. He is probably going to be somewhat wide. We can maybe something like that. That's 24%. Maybe not all of these, but I mean, he is quite wide. So I have 9-7. 9-7 clubs isn't that great, and I think in this situation we should have probably just folded. I think our decision is really to fold or to raise. If we think he's playing too many cards, then I think raising is preferred because it puts pressure on everyone else behind us. On this table, I do think if I call, this guy's going to more likely call. He's playing 43-14, so he'll probably call, and then he'll have position on us. But if we raise here, I think we have a chance of getting everyone to fold out, and then villain 2, since he has such a wide range, I think he's going to fold a nice chunk of this range. And even if he doesn't, we're going to have position, and you figured we would be able to pick up some pots without actually hitting. So I think here I would much rather raise instead of call. As expected, once I call, this guy calls, and we see a lovely flop of 9-9-7. 9-9-7. At this point, we've got a massive lead. He bets half pot. I don't really see any reason to raise and get this guy to fold. I think a heart, if any heart draws are out there, they might raise. I think a 9's going to raise. Maybe everyone's going to slow play. I don't think this board hits him at all. I think that's why a lot of times you could probably raise here with anything. Say raise with ace-8 of spades. You got backdoor straight and backdoor flush. And if he calls, then any card less than a 9, he'll probably fold to a turn bet. I just call, and I think that's okay. So let's see here. This guy raises. So question is, what is he going to c-bet with? His c-bet right now is 100%. 5 out of 5, 1 out of 1. So I'm going to say he's probably c-betting his entire range. He's probably completely unbalanced. What about this other player? So this other player just called, didn't raise it, and you can see he has not 3-bet yet. We don't have a huge number of hands, but with how loose he's playing, I'm going to say he's probably playing a similar range as our under the gun player. Since he's on the button, maybe something like that. That's 32% minus, we're going to say kings plus ace king. So we're at like that level. And then there's a bet, and then we have a raise, a small raise at that. And thought is, what is he going to do that with? I don't think quads. Well, we know it can't have quads. Could we have a full house? Maybe, with the 9-7. Three of a kind, definitely. Overpair, definitely. Pocket pair below top pair, definitely. Middle pair, I don't think he's going to be doing that. I mean, maybe. Flush draw, open end straight draw, we'll say the gut shot, and these combos. So say 40.4% is what he's doing, and you can see that of all of those cards, we've got him crushed. So this guy calls, and that's interesting. So he raises with his entire range, and he calls, and I think at that point we're narrowing his range. So we are going to drop out. We're going to leave the middle pairs plus, the flush draw, open and straight draws. We'll do the gut shots, and we'll do the combos. So 36%, he's continuing. We said he's continuing 44%, and it's back onto us. Should we raise at this point? Or should we just call? Do we think they're going to call? I mean, he bet, and then he raised. I think we could probably raise it up to 30. Or just say, heck with it, shove, which is what I did. So I kind of think that if we shove, both players are probably going to call. They seem loose enough. And I think they might rationalize it that, if they have an open-ended straight draw or a heart draw, maybe both of them have a heart draw, that, hey, they're on the flush draw. So we got one to call, and then we got the second one to call. And I guess we could say also, too, when you think about what we raise, I said 30. Well, he's got 35. He only has 15. So, yeah, let's just shove all in. They both call, which is great. Board runs out 8 and 4. Do I think they're going to call my shove all the time? No. I think they're going to give up the middle pair, pocket pair. I think overpair calls. Three of a kind, full house quads. Flush draw, we're going to say open and a straight draw. I don't think the gut shots are going to call. So we'll get rid of with those for him. And that was our pre-flop raiser. And this guy, we're going to basically do the same thing. It'll be overpair, three of a kind, full house, flush draw, open and a straight draw, and none of these combos. So we're looking at, ranges, and our full house is quite ahead of all of these. So he shows 10 overpair, and he shows three of a kind. So we said we thought he would have an overpair. I didn't think top pair or three of a kind. Well, overpair or three of a kind. So yeah, 10s are in his range. He made the call. This loose player had ace 9. So he had three of a kind, and we had that in his range. Just kind of started to make sense. So, overpair, he bet half pot, and that kind of justifies why he calls. This guy raises because he's got the 9, but he doesn't raise too much because he's afraid that people are going to fold. And then it comes back to us, and we kind of look at it, and I think from their perspective, they should be thinking, why am I calling? Why did I call and then shove? Trip 9s, still playing trip 9s, or maybe I have 8, 10 of hearts. 10 of hearts that not out there, maybe 6, 8 hearts. I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to say I got these cards, kind of had a right idea. I definitely got lucky, flop the boat, but sometimes you have to get lucky to win big. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Look tomorrow for a couple more hands.